specifically enumerated.
You don't think it's Article 10?
Well, Article 10 has to also, is also applicable.
Actually, the 10th Amendment, what does the 10th Amendment say?
The 10th Amendment provides that any specific power that was not given to Congress or denied to the states applies to the states and the people.
And that's the origin of a state's police power, right?
Yes, Senator.
Okay, it's not Article 1.
I read it as both, Senator, but if it's Amendment 10, then it's Amendment 10, Senator.
Does the federal government have police power?
What you're about to watch is one of those moments that reminds you why Senate confirmation hearings actually matter. Senator John Kennedy didn't raise his voice. He didn't grandstand. He didn't insult anyone. What he did was something far more uncomfortable for a judicial nominee. He demanded clarity, constitutional literacy, and honesty. This exchange isn't about politics. It's about whether someone asking for a lifetime seat on the federal bench understands the most basic principles of constitutional law, and whether they can be trusted to tell the truth under oath. By the time this hearing ends, Senator Kennedy exposes confusion, contradiction, and serious ethical red flags, all without ever leaving the facts. Watch closely, because this is exactly how accountability is supposed to look. If you appreciate calm but relentless questioning like this, make sure you like the video, subscribe to Congress Lens, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next breakdown. I'm Audrey, and let's get into it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations to all of you. Judge Martinez, tell me about state police power.
Senator, my understanding of state police power is the authority of the state officials to enforce state law.
Well, what if the state law is in violation of federal law?
Well, we have the Supremacy Clause under Article 6 of the Constitution that provides that federal law is the supreme law of the land.
Yeah, but that's not an exercise of state power. What's the origin of state's police power?
My understanding, Senator, is also from Article 1 of the Constitution, where the Congress was enumerated certain powers, and under one of the provisions of Article 1, anything that was not specifically enumerated.
You don't think it's Article 10?
Well, Article 10 has to also is also applicable.
Actually, the 10th Amendment. What does the 10th Amendment say?
The 10th Amendment provides that any specific power that was not given to Congress or denied to the states applies to the states and the people.
And that's the origin of a state's police power, right?
Yes, Senator. Okay,
it's not Article 1.
I read it as both, Senator, but if it's Amendment 10, then it's Amendment 10, Senator.
Does the federal government have police power?
The federal government has authority to enforce its federal law.
Yes, ma'am. But we've talked about the state's police power. Does the federal government have police power?
Well, the executive branch has the power to enforce the law executed by the legislature.
Well, but the federal government can't. The Constitution's pretty clear that you have to have an enumerated power in the Constitution, right, in order to be able to do something?
Well, it's my understanding, Senator, there are enumerated powers, but there are also implied powers in the Constitution.
Yeah, but those are implied to be enumerated. There is no federal police power, is there?
Well, Senator, my understanding is that the executive branch has the power to execute the laws of the United States.
I know, but that has nothing to do with police power. Let me move on. Counselor, tell me how to say your last name.
Suknanan, Senator.
Say it again, please, ma'am.
Suknanan.
Suknan?
Suknanan.
Suknanan, okay. Counselor, you used to practice law at Jones Day, is that right?
That's correct, Senator.
Okay. And there was an article in the New York Times I don't know whether you leaked it to them or somebody from your law firm leaked it to them. Your firm, Jones Day, you were a partner then, and you were representing a party, your firm was, and you were, in a post-election challenge to Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court, of course, extended the filing deadline for absentee ballots in the presidential election, and that was challenged as being unconstitutional under both the state and the federal constitution. Am I right?
Yes, Senator.
And Jones Day was handling that case, right?
That's correct.
And you were a partner at Jones Day, is that right?
That's correct, Senator.
Okay. And who was your client in that case?
The firm's client was the Pennsylvania GOP, Senator.
Well, it's your client too, right?
Correct, Senator. I was not the lawyer in that case, but yes, Senator.
But you were going to share in the profits made from the bills paid by the Pennsylvania GOP, right?
Senator, it was a firm client. I was a partner at the firm.
And you were going to share in the money, right?
Correct, Senator.
Okay. And in a call where you and some of your partners were talking about the case, this is what you said about your client who's paying you. You said, this is according to an August 25, 2022 article. You said, quote, "This lawsuit was brought for no other reason than to deprive poor people of the right to vote," close quote. You said that, didn't you?
Senator, those were not my words. I do not know who provided that quote to the reporter.
You gave it to the reporter, didn't you?
Senator, I never spoke to the reporter or anyone in the media about the meeting in question, and I'll tell you why. As a partner at Jones Day, all partners are bound by a confidentiality obligation to the firm. And that meeting was an internal, confidential partners meeting.
Yeah,
I never spoke to the media about it, and those were not my words, Senator.
This is a violation of about 927 provisions of the Code of Ethics, isn't it?
Senator, that's why I never spoke to that reporter, and those were not my words. I do not know who provided that quote to the reporter.
What did you mean? Who was trying to deprive poor people of the right to vote? Who were you referring to when you said that?
Senator, as I said, those were not my words.
Oh, you never said that. You did not.
Senator, those were not my words.
If we deposed your partners on that call, they would say, no, she never said it.
Senator, I am telling you here today under oath that those were not my words. I never spoke to them.
If we deposed your partners and put them under oath, they would say, no, she never said that?
Senator, I can't tell you what someone else would say under oath. I can tell you under oath that those were not my words. I never spoke to the media about that call.
And you think in light of this, you're qualified to be a federal judge?
Senator, I never spoke to the
You
media.
say that about a client?
Senator, as I said, those were not my words, and I never spoke to the media about the meeting in question. I take my obligations, ethical and otherwise, incredibly seriously.
You said that, didn't you?
Senator, I did not say those words.
So the New York Times got it wrong?
Senator Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, now that you've seen the full exchange, let's be honest about what just happened here. Senator John Kennedy didn't grill this nominee for entertainment. He exposed a problem. The moment Senator Kennedy asked about state police power, the red flags started going up immediately. This is first-year constitutional law. The origin of state police power is the 10th Amendment, plain and simple. When a judicial nominee starts wandering through Article 1, then circles back only after being corrected, that's not a minor slip, that's foundational confusion. And Senator Kennedy knew it. What made this exchange powerful is that Senator Kennedy didn't rush past the uncertainty. He slowed it down. He asked follow-ups. He forced precise answers. That's what good judges are expected to do, and what nominees should be able to handle. Then came the federal police power question, and again, Senator Kennedy was exactly right. There is no general federal police power. The federal government operates only through enumerated powers. Enforcement authority is not the same thing as police power, and Senator Kennedy repeatedly gave the nominee the opportunity to make that distinction. She never fully did. That matters, because judges don't get to, sort of, understand constitutional limits. They interpret them for the rest of us. But the most serious moment in this hearing wasn't even about constitutional theory. It was about ethics. Senator John Kennedy introduced the New York Times report alleging that, during a confidential law firm call, the nominee described her own client's lawsuit as an effort to deprive poor people of the right to vote. Now let's be clear, Senator Kennedy didn't accuse her of leaking. He didn't claim the quote was proven. What he did was ask the most basic and fair question imaginable. Did you say that about a client who was paying your firm? That question goes straight to professional integrity. The nominee's response was a full denial, over and over again. Senator Kennedy pressed because that's his job. If the quote is false, it should withstand scrutiny. If it's true, the Senate deserves to know before granting a lifetime appointment. And here's what stood out most. Senator Kennedy wasn't emotional. He wasn't hostile. He was methodical. He kept returning to the same point, because the issue itself doesn't go away just because it's uncomfortable. When Senator Kennedy finally questioned whether this conduct, or the confusion surrounding it, was compatible with serving as a federal judge, that wasn't an insult. That was a legitimate constitutional concern. Lifetime judgeships demand clear legal reasoning, respect for constitutional boundaries, ethical consistency, and credibility under oath. Senator John Kennedy didn't invent those standards. He enforced them. This hearing wasn't about winning a viral moment. It was about reminding everyone watching that judicial power is enormous, and the Senate has a responsibility to vet nominees rigorously, not politely, not ceremonially, but seriously. Whether you agree with Senator Kennedy politically or not, this is what constitutional oversight looks like when it's done properly. And that's why this exchange matters. If you want more no-nonsense breakdowns of what really happens in Congress, you're in the right place. This is Congress Lens, and I'm Audrey.